Resident Evil Retribution, or Resident Evil 5 in movie terms. This is the 5th installment of the Paul W.S. Anderson sort of take on the video game, massive series, and this is by far the most shittiest film of the franchise yet. This is not really more of a review, more of like a kind of rant, more like, because I am going to sort of rant about the whole film, because the whole film was just a big pile of mess. It was just, it's all over the place, it's nothing, it's consistent, it takes a big massive dump in the past 4 films, and you're just kind of like, what the fuck? At the start of this film, it starts off right after where the 4th one left, and then, Alice is now sort of, in this kind of like suburban area, whatnot, and you see Carlos is like alive, you're like, what? And they have this child, right, who's deaf, but, and then all of a sudden this zombie outbreak happens, and the next minute you realise is she wakes up and she's in this big massive like umbrella tube or somewhat, and then you realise that not only when something kind of a security protocol happens, the drawer opens that has her stuff to get out, and then you realise she winds up in Tokyo. And it goes on and on and on. It's just, this thing is just a complete and pile, utter mess. It's, nothing is consistent without this whole film. Now, the main sort of premise of this whole thing is the Red Queen, that robotic woman from the first film, is somehow now the main kind of like sort of villain, and is taking control of this sort of like umbrella testing area and whatnot, and you see her and you're like, so we had to wait another like 3 films for you to actually reappear again, and now you're somehow the bad guy. But how the fuck did you manage to do all this? Like, sort of really, how did you become this, sort of nuisance? I thought you were just a computer protocol. Complete, utter, like, what the hell, what the... Oh god, and yes, if you've probably seen it from the trailers or whatnot, Albert Wesker is back. Now this is something that really pisses me off, right? When Alice sees or hears that, Luther West is alive, she's stunned, she's surprised that he is still alive. When she sees Albert Wesker is still alive, it's not more like, what the fuck kind of thing, she mostly just goes like, Wesker. And you saw, or you thought you saw him die, you could have been at least a bit more like dramatic about it. And I've really got to say is Mia Jovovich in this film is just completely and utter shambles. I just don't get her at all now. Like, why is she still in this film? Why? I mean, to be honest, she's not even that sort of good to look at anymore. Like, you've kind of sort of drained out as much of this character as you can, and they've completely just like done everything with this character, and I just feel like, what the hell else could you do with this character? But obviously this is a Resident Evil film, so there's going to be some Resident Evil characters that are going to return. Namely, Jill Valentine returns, and this is Resident Evil 5 Jill Valentine. She has that spider thing in her chest, and she's got the purple outfit, and I've got to say, she did look smoking hot in it, but it just didn't really suit the person who was portraying her. I mean, because in Resident Evil 5, Jill's blonde, and the actress that portrays her, she doesn't really suit it really well. I mean, this is kind of not like a really good, nice blonde. This is kind of just like a wig blonde, or just like it just got dyed that day kind of thing. And I kind of felt it was just a bit drawn in. All of a sudden, like, this is kind of like at near enough like the end, she comes out with all this sort of witty, like, sort of moves and whatnot, and she's actually kind of outbests Alice, who is meant to be the main portrayal. I was kind of like, you should really have her in the front line because she's much better. And, Leon S. Kennedy is in it. Now, Leon's kind of like my favourite character of the whole Resident Evil, but the guy that portrays him is nothing like Leon S. Kennedy. He's kind of just a cocky guy that kind of just dresses like him and just kind of maybe has the same kind of haircut as him. But this guy has like a beard, and Leon doesn't really have a beard, and he was just pretty much pathetic. And then you have Barry Burton in it, who just looked like a young Barry Burton. This is probably a Barry Burton that was good at his heyday, like at his prime. And I just didn't like the guy in this one. He was just complete, like, what the hell? And then we have Ada Wong. Now, I'm going to be strictly honest here. The actress that plays Ada Wong, right, she looks utter gorgeous, right? She looks like the best actress to actually portray her until she opens her mouth. You know, I probably understand English is probably not her first language, but this was kind of like, not even B stuff, you know, lines. This was really, really down the line. This was kind of like, you know, lines that you would probably say in maybe a video game around the time Resident Evil was sort of being made, and it just didn't really make sense. So what's my score for it? Well, this film is as worse, as mindless and as loud noise as Piranha 3DD is, but just takes a complete and utter shit stain on a franchise like Ghost Rider 2 did. I'm going to give this a 1 out of 10. This is by far the worst film I've seen this year, and I'm not saying it because I like Resident Evil games or I like good movies. I do like mindless films, but this is just not complete. This is mindless, but it's just had no purpose whatsoever. Hell, I would gladly go and see Expendables 2 again, or even watch the first one, then watch through this pile of shite. And to add even more insult to injury, I'm actually looking more forward to seeing the last Twilight film, because I think the last Twilight film will be slightly better than this one.